Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. It's me, Chris, from the Same Old Arsenal podcast. I don't know what I was doing there, but anyway, nice to see you, or not see you. Nice to hear from you in the chat. Please feel free to drop all of your comments and discussions, because we're going to try and get through the next 45 minutes talking about what was the game yesterday, unfolding in front of our very eyes. Chelsea versus Arsenal, 1-1 draw. And as I said today in my blog, James, how you doing, James? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, mate. I'm very well. I'm looking forward to hearing about this blog. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I still don't. We are basically 24 hours since the end of the game. I still don't actually know how I feel about that result, which I can't remember that feeling for quite some time. Just for the benefit of the rest of you guys, Amanda is on her way, but she's on her way back from work, so we've had to squeeze in this little chat between doing things on our Monday nights, haven't we, James?
We do, yes. Off to the parents at 7 o'clock for dinner, so that should be interesting. Will it be roast chicken? Will it be a risotto? I don't know. That's the other podcast that we're going to talk about later. But in answer to how you're feeling, Chris, I actually feel okay. And I'm not sure if you had a little browse through Twitter yesterday post-game, but you'd think, the end of the world was coming. I feel absolutely fine after what happened. I think, we'll look back on yesterday's game and sense that there was a missed opportunity. And without doubt, I think Mikel Arteta, the players will feel like when we're playing against 10 men, we should have done more, could have done more. But when you contextualize the week we've had two massive energy sapping performances against Bayern Munich, Tottenham Hotspur in the North London derby. We've done brilliantly in both of those games. And going into the game yesterday, I would have taken a point pre-game. So my expectation has pretty much been met. But again, when you look at the fact that Chelsea lost Caicedo early on in the game, and we never really tested them with 10 men, that's the frustration. But 7 points out of a possible 9 across 2 competitions, I can live with that. And I think to be 5 points clear going into the start of December, it's kind of exactly where we want to be, considering we've played at St James's Park, we've played at Stamford Bridge, we've played at Old Trafford, we've played at Anfield, we've played at Sunderland, who are a top team this season. So I think we've got to be happy.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a funny thing. This is the other thing that's dawned on me, the contextualizing part. And this is quite interesting, because if you think about where Chelsea were at the beginning of their week. Hey, Amanda, you all right?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, go on, carry on.
I was just saying, if you think about where Chelsea were 1 week ago, where we were 1 week ago, just over a week ago, just pre that Tottenham game, if you'd have said to me, right, you can have 2 wins and a draw, I'd have said, yeah, fine, take that, job done. The other thing that, again, to the contextualizing point, Chelsea, whilst we were playing an intense game against Tottenham, and yes, admittedly, they were terrible. We all talked about how terrible they were, but an intense game against Tottenham, against your local rivals, followed by an intense game against Bayern Munich, which was tight. Even though we were the better team, it was tight. And then we come into this game. If you think about what Chelsea did, they played Burnley, they beat them 2-0, and it was a relatively routine and comfortable victory when we were playing Tottenham over that weekend. They then played Barcelona, and yes, they beat them 3-0. And yes, Barcelona are an impressive team. However, Barcelona went down to 10 men in that first half. So really, Chelsea had an easier run of it, shall we say, because they're 1-0 up and they're playing against 10 men at home. So they've had 2 games that are much lower in terms of the intensity spectrum than we've had. So in the cold light of day, I'm coming around to the idea of the context of where we're at. I put it on social medias last night and I got a bit of blowback that that was the worst performance of the season from us. But I wasn't positioning it. I wasn't trying to position it as we were utterly terrible and abject. In my head, it was the worst performance, but only because all of the other performances have been better. I didn't really want to say least best because it just sounds a bit weird. So I don't think we were terrible yesterday, but it was the worst of all of the very good performances that we've had this season. Amanda, we were just talking about how we feel, because I was saying 24 hours after the fact, I still don't 100% know how I feel about that result.
Okay, so first up, you predicted 1-1, Chris. I
Yeah.
predicted 2-2, and Carl, I guess, went for 2-1 away. So I think we were sort of, me and you were thinking it could be a draw. We spoke after the Spurs match, didn't we? Bayern, I went for a draw again against Bayern, but you went for 2-1 and Carl went for 2-1. And I totally agree with what you say, but I was perfectly all right. A, we didn't play well at all.
No, we were
Uh,
terrible. No, it's not.
B, I think we were, but I didn't throw my toys out and stuff. I don't have to calm down today. When you look at the week we've had, which you've just explained, it's massive. I knew. I just had this feeling. That's why both of us probably went for draws. That it was going to be a step too far. It's going to come, and I'll say this again. We are not going to win every game. For everybody listening, we're not going to win every game. And one of my decent Liverpool friends said to me, points win you championships. You would have lost that last season. Oh, we would have, wouldn't we? We would have definitely lost that. We weren't very good. So when you have a bad day at the office and you've got Chelsea coming at you like they just literally were like thugs the whole game, I'm sorry, they were wound up. It was like they'd read social media because Chelsea fans appeared on my timeline all of a sudden. I don't even follow any. And it was bizarre that they were like, we're going to do you 6-0, and you get all the social media idiots. But three games in a week, 3 massive, intense games, and we haven't lost them. We haven't lost one. We've beaten Spurs easily. Bayern was fantastic. You're asking them to pick up again. Okay, so we put Skelly in. All right, I don't know where you're up to, sorry, because I'm late. But
we were just doing vibes.
Just vibes. I'm perfectly fine. I don't really understand the furor over it. This 10-man thing. Sometimes it's harder to play against 10 men. If we would have been on form, we would have won it. We weren't on form. So you go next. We're in November. It's now December today. As I keep saying, and I said on the radio this week, you do not win leagues in November, December, January, and February. If this had been March, maybe a little bit disappointed. But come on, in the big context of it all, and the big news about Saliba being out, I mean, every single game there is something. You've got Hincapi and you've got Mosquera coming in, and it's not Gabriel and Saliba, but they are decent replacements. But maybe it shook the team a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, James, how much of an impact do you think that Saliba miss was on the team? Because from what I saw, more of an impact was, I think, Anthony Taylor's trigger-happy nature with the cards, booking Zubimendi for quite a silly. Well, it wasn't a silly. It was silly for him to book him. It was not really a booking. And Cucurella certainly was a little bit overzealous. And Caicedo, even before he got sent off, there was a couple of instances, including a barge in the back on Timber, which, really could be punished a lot worse. But so there's 2 questions in there, I guess, for you, James. One of them is, how much of an impact do you think the lack of Saliba had on the team? And then the second one is, I guess, the style and the industrial, I think you'd put it, approach of Chelsea. Did that knock us off of our game? Because we were misplacing passes quite a lot in that first half.
Yeah, I'll start with your second point. I don't think it was Chelsea's physical nature that made us play poorly. I think we just weren't clicking for whatever reason, whether that's fatigue, whether that's, missing key players in key areas. You've got players like Ødegaard, Gyökeres. Okay, it's great to have them back in the side, but they're not up to match fitness yet. They're coming off the bench making an impact. But from the start of the game, I just felt like there was something about us that didn't feel quite right. Players like Marino were passing it into absolutely nowhere. Mosquera had quite a few misplaced passes. It just didn't feel as tight as, as succinct as it has done in previous games. And then obviously Anthony Taylor booking Martin Zubimendi, as well as a cohort of other players in the opening 10-15 minutes of the game, just set the tone for what was inevitably going to be a red card at some point. I'm really glad it didn't come for us, but I really did feel like at points we were treading a tightrope. And I wouldn't have been at all surprised if we had a player of our own sent off for some absolute nonsense moment in that game. But yeah, Zubimendi, I think his game just became a lot more conservative because of that early yellow card. And then obviously we got yellow cards to Mosquera, Hincapié, Calafiori. Lewis Skelly came on in the second half, almost immediately got a yellow card. It just really affected the way we played, I think. But moreover, I do think this was just an off day from Arsenal, and you're just going to have them. But I don't think it's a terrible performance. You know, we've all watched terrible Arsenal performances with much worse sides. The great thing about Arsenal now is that even when we're not having a good game, at least you know you're going to get a certain level of work ethic, commitment, and quality, let's be honest. And we did have chances to win this game. You know, we had the Gyökeres one right at the end. We had a Marino chance. Sanchez made a good save from Martinelli. So it's not like we weren't creating niche. Whereas you go back to last season, and I always reference that game at home to Everton where it was like 1-1 or 0-0, and we just created absolutely nothing that game. It was absolutely awful. But at least we create now when we're not playing well. But I do think the Mosquera-Hincapié partnership rocked us a little bit. Hincapié was excellent, absolutely excellent in the North London derby. Mosquera, I can say the exact same against Bayern Munich. He was fantastic against Harry Kane. But put the two of them together in a partnership that's not really been tried and tested, that was happening at the last minute, so we've not really had time to prepare for it. It was always going to affect us in some way. And Saliba and Gabriel are so crucial to the way we go higher up the pitch, the way we start out play from the back. I just thought you could see quite a clear lack of inexperience between those two as a partnership, because individually they've got bags of experience, but together I don't think it quite worked. But it's only the second time they've played as a pair. But what great centre-back options to have in reserve. And I don't want to say they were bad. They weren't. But it was obviously a key component that affected the way we played, and not in a good sense.
Yeah. Do you know what's really, really interesting is that we are in a situation where we can lose both of our centre halves against one of the most other informed teams in the league, and we're coming out of it saying, no, they did all right, they did fine. It's been many a year. In fact, I'm not sure I've ever come across a number 3 and number 4 centre half. If you think Gabriel and Saliba are 1 and 2, I've never ever been in a situation that I can recall where we've had the 3rd and 4th choice centre halves, and I don't feel as worried going into the team that's second in the league. And I think that's real credit to those players, and it's credit to the scouting. It's credit to the fact that we've got them on board. And I think it will see us through for a period of time. But we just have to hope that Saliba's knock was not too detrimental to our season, because we can't afford to have Saliba and Big Gabby out for too long whatsoever. Amanda, you can have a chat about those two if you want to, but I want to get onto the Caicedo foul, really. And I'm going to start with the fact that Anthony Taylor completely missed. Perhaps this is just symptomatic of his performance yesterday as a referee, that he misses that foul in real time. It looked nasty in real time. It looked worse in slow-mo. It's a standard red card, right?
Absolutely. I called it straight away. Carl didn't see it. Listen, I don't like Anthony Taylor. I don't think any Arsenal fans do. But, you know, Carl didn't see it, but I did. And I said, wow, he's going for that. I already tweeted bye-bye Caicedo before anything even happened. And people were saying, what? And when you watched it, you understood what I was trying to say, what I was saying. What I don't get, and I don't know if I don't know what is going on here. If that isn't a red, what is? That is a red card. There's no argument. He went to the screen. He did the right thing. I don't know why it took so long, because you only needed one look, really. It's a red card. Now, all of a sudden, then, you get Sturridge at half-time debating it. Theo not standing up for Arsenal, which he should have done, because it's right. And I would sit here, and you know that. I will argue with you two over a yellow card, a red card, a penalty, anything. I don't know what Sturridge was watching. I don't understand what he was even trying to say at halftime. If anyone in the chat can explain this to me, because I sat there and me and Carl went, what is he trying to say? In real time, it's not a red. In slow-mo, it's a red. No. It's a red. That's the end of it. Why everyone was coming out and debating it, I don't know. I think this is anti-Arsenal agenda somewhere. Because, if that was any other club, we'd be sitting here going, definite red, we'd move on. If one of our players did that, we'd be going, oh, and Chelsea went quiet. Listen back. As he makes that tackle, their crowd went silent, which is what we would do. If we saw a tackle like that on an opposing player from one of our players, it is a red all day long. John's just saying he's a Chelsea fan. What, Sturridge? It's irrelevant. If you're going to have a pundit sitting up there at half time that cannot be biased, it's a red. There's no debating it. Thank God Anthony Taylor, for once in his life, did the right thing. And I actually did think he did the right thing with the yellow card, because apparently he did the yellow to hold the play up. I don't know, because he wasn't sure. But yeah, it's definite red.
Yeah. James, anything to build on that, or shall we move on to the second half? Because I think that first half, it was so bitty and disjointed and full of fouls and like breakups in play. There wasn't really a football match that kind of broke out until the second half, was there?
No, not really. Like you say, it just summed up perfectly there. It was so bitty, so cagey. I do think there were a couple of moments from Chelsea that caused at least me concern. There was a moment where Enzo Fernandez got through and Esteban looked dangerous at times. So I do worry a little bit what the result could have been had they scored and kept 11 men on the pitch. Thankfully, it's not panned out that way, and we've managed to get something from this game. But yeah, touching on the Caicedo red card, I didn't quite realise how bad of a challenge it was in real time, and then watching it back, the more you watch it, classic case of the worse it gets, and it was obviously going to be a red card, and just a shame we couldn't have made more of it.
James, a second, sorry, because I disagree. Because if you listen to Alan Smith, he's actually saying it is quite bad and he needs to go to the screen. So I know a lot of people were very anti-Smith yesterday with, they think he's got like a biased agenda against us, which he hasn't. And I know him. And he says he can't win either way with any set of fans, because if he goes for Arsenal come for him. And if he protects Arsenal, the other fans say it's because you played for him. He will say it as he sees it. And if you do listen, Guna 1973, he does say that. And he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't understand the debate, Chris. Oh, sorry, James. I don't understand the debate. It's a red card all day long. And yes, the first half was... I'm with James on this. They had 3 chances. If they had their shooting boots on, we could have been 3-0 down.
Yeah, the stats are interesting, because in that first half overall, because Caicedo got sent off on 38 minutes, but effectively the football didn't really kick back off until about 41 minutes. So you've got about 5 minutes where Arsenal have the advantage. And I thought the same thing. I thought Chelsea edged it. But when I look at the numbers, the XG was pretty much the same. They had 5 shots to our 2, to be fair. So they did outshoot us, but they were off target, like things like that. Esteban one blown over. And then it comes to half time and in the second half, Amanda. And for me, in my head, watching that, I'm thinking to myself, this has to be an Arsenal win now. Like, I was looking at some numbers, and if you think about the amount of games that whenever a team goes down to 10 men, and it's not like one of those where they go down to 10 men with 2 minutes to go, if you play at least a half of football against 10 men in the Premier League, I think 7 to 9 times out of 10, the team that's got 11 versus 10 tend to go on and win it. To James's point, Chelsea were out then to try and manipulate the referee, because within the first few seconds, João Pedro was on the floor writhing in agony when really he'd barely been touched. Gyökeres got that yellow card late on, and if you recall, so I saw Sanchez absolutely writhing around as if he'd been shot, but he was quickly up within a few minutes. So they were trying to even it up, but we had to take control of that game. And I think the early goal that they got, I think it was wasn't it within like the first 5 minutes or something? I'm sure it was. Yeah, it was 48 minutes. So it's 3 minutes into the half. It completely changes the game plan, because I think if Arsenal get 5-10 minutes of just dominance, I think Chelsea sit into their structure and shell a bit more. But because they scored, they had a lead to hold on to. Where do you place the? Do you have a blame? Do you have a portion of blame that you place onto anybody from an Arsenal perspective for that goal, or was it just, they're good at set pieces, almost as good as us for set pieces, and it was a good flick on, and you've got to take it? Do you have any blame or any disappointment for any of the Arsenal players for their goal?
really. I thought it was just sometimes you just have to say it was a really good corner and a really good goal. It was a really good headed goal. Um, it was disappointing, but because it was so early, I wasn't that concerned. I said this at half time, I would have taken 0-0 and none of our players sent off because I could see it. And you know what Arteta's like sometimes? He leaves them on a bit too long. I could see at least 2 of our players being sent off that were on yellows. And I don't know how Cucurella finished the game. I don't even know how he wasn't booked in the first minute, but it's not a shock, is it, that we'd be the first to get booked? I thought it was a good goal, Chris. I thought it was a good goal, and then I went, I'll take 1-1 and no players sent off. It just wasn't our day. And with 10 men away, and to be fair, they were up for it, Chelsea. They felt like they were invincible after beating Barcelona. You could see it in them. And also remember, there was a lot of South American players on that pitch that don't like each other. The Brazilians, the Ecuadorians, the Argentinians. This is how they play. So when you got Hincapi going up, jumping, and the bloke going down, listen, I don't think it was his elbow that actually caused that. I think it was his head. If you watch it, and I kept saying this, it's not actually his elbow, as his head's gone into his cheek. It's not a sending off. We know that, but they were trying all the time, weren't they, to get our players sent off. I thought only captains were allowed to speak to referees, but obviously not when we play. But no, I didn't really have any blame. Did you?
I mean, there's a question as to whether or not, I think it's either Declan Rice or Mosquera potentially could be, a little bit more. It could anticipate the jump a little bit more. But for me, more than anything else, James, I'm a traditionalist and I like a man on posts. I like men on posts. And if there's somebody on the post, then they're nodding that away. But of course, I know the reason why you don't do that, because it takes 2 players out of the game. But did you have any thoughts on their goal before we then talk about the equaliser that we scored?
No, I think I can only really echo what you guys have already said. It was a really good set piece. If we score that goal, I think we're talking about the quality of the delivery and the flick on more than we're talking about the poor defending from the opposition. Maybe Mosquera could have done a bit better. I think it's slightly frustrating that the corner comes from a shot that looked like it was going way wide. But I can't really pin the blame at anyone individually. It was just a really good set piece, really well worked, and that's something we know all too well about. But it's just frustrating that it came at that point in the game, because like you say, if we had just asserted our dominance, stamped our authority on that game, at least for 5, 10, 15 minutes, I think we could have snatched this 1-0, not playing particularly well. It's just the fact that we conceded a goal, because they didn't really create opportunities aside from that. I can't really think of anything noteworthy in that second half. They looked dangerous on the break, but they never really got one-on-one with Raya. They never really had too many shots on target. So I just feel like if we'd have kept it tight, 80 minutes in, if it's still 0-0, that's your opportunity to go and win it when you bring on Gyökeres, Ødegaard, Madueke, etc. But that's not how football works, unfortunately. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. And then we've got 10 minutes or 11 minutes between them scoring. I did actually think Chelsea would just sit back and go into a full low block and see if they could just frustrate us. But to be fair, they looked like they were trying to hit us on transition and counter. It was good, the good chance. It was one of very few chances, actually, that Saka got. And I thought Saka had a very 6 out of 10 game yesterday. I think there was a lot of players on there that had a 6 out of 10 game. I thought Eze was practically anonymous. Madueke came on and he looked like he was impacted by the pantomime booing that was going on, because I don't really think he had too much of an impact. But one player does have an impact, and did have an impact, if you think, with the fact that there was that red card. Obviously, he was involved in that. It was Merino. And Amanda, I'm actually getting to the point where I'm wondering whether or not, even against Brentford, I think he'll probably play Gyökeres because he needs to get minutes back into him, and Merino's played a lot of football. I'm just like, it's almost like it can't be dropped at the moment, because that man is an end product machine. It was a fantastic header. Great ball from Saka, fantastic header. But what's your kind of take on the Merino situation, and also having him potentially as a starter against Brentford?
I just want to go back to the fact that we missed Trossard. Isn't that weird after how some fans feel about him? we actually missed Trossard yesterday. The only player for me that gets 20 out of 10 is Declan Rice, an absolute warrior. The rest of them, I think around 6. I was calling for Marino to come off, I have to be honest. I don't think he was doing much, but he does pop up at those times when you need him. He does. And it's just incredible. Honestly, I was sitting there going, right, we need Marino off, we need Erdegaard on, we need Gyökeres on. We got to get the yellow cards off, and yet he does that. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Marino. He's reliable. He is reliable, isn't he?
Do you know what it is? And I'd love to get your take on this, James, as well. I think the reason why we as Arsenal fans are a little bit confused by him is because ostensibly he's a midfielder, right?
Yeah.
And yet that middle part of the pitch, which is where a midfielder spends most of their time, is not really that great. He's not very technically gifted. Like, he's not a dribbler. He's not got an amazing passing range. He's just kind of a bit, in my opinion, meh in that middle third. But defensively, when we've got balls being put into the box that we've got to defend corners, Marino is there. He's there to nod those balls away. So he's a really good defensive outlet. And then in the attacking box, he is a phenomenal outlet for us. He scored really important goals. He scored against Newcastle, the equaliser. He scored for Spain a number of times. He is a deadly player in the box. It's just that middle part of the pitch. And so as Arsenal fans, I guess the question is, do you agree with this, James? I find myself a little bit fried, my brain a bit fried by the fact that we've got a midfielder who in the midfield area isn't that great, but yet is an invaluable player for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not prepared to write him off in midfield. I still think he is an asset there. I think it was it the game against Nottingham Forest at home where he played in midfield? We gave Declan Rice a breather and he had a really solid game. I think what he lacks in, I was going to say what he lacked in technical ability, but I do actually think he's a very intelligent technical footballer at times.
Yeah.
Like when he drops deep, holds up the ball, almost a bit Lacazette, but with a brain. And he turns it round the corner and he brings in the likes of Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, Eberechi, Eza. I think it really works. I think the way we're playing, especially with Ezra in the team in a minute, it really works. I'm not sure how good it will be when Erdegaard comes back into the side and we haven't got like an Eberechi Eza necessarily starting in the role that he's in now. But for the here and now, he's doing a really good job. And you've got to say he's a genuine centre-forward option for us. And going into Brentford, are you dropping him for Gyökeres? Are you dropping him in the game next week against Aston Villa? I don't really know. And that's where I'm a little bit with you, Chris. I feel like he really benefits the team in such a positive way. But because he's not a striker, part of me is going like, no, just don't put him there. But is it coming to a point now where we kind of have to accept that he is a striker?
Do you know
he is a false nine?
Do you know what's interesting? I think you've just hit on something which has kind of triggered in my head. If you think about the success that we had against Tottenham and even against Bayern as well, it was Marino dropping deeper and Eza filling that space, or Marino dropping right and then Saka being able to push on. If Erdegaard comes in, Erdegaard is probably occupying the spaces that Marino occupies, and therefore you probably need a different tool in your attacking toolkit, and it probably is a Gyökeres who's going to make runs in behind. So if you're going to bring Erdegaard back, it probably fits more naturally to have a Gyökeres coming in. But I think we just need to. I'm just here to acknowledge that Marino in both penalty boxes is a really, really valuable asset to us, and hopefully he can continue to be that asset for us. But then, Amanda, so we scored on 60 minutes. And at that point, honestly, I was watching it. I was actually watching it on my phone in the car because the wife was driving and we were coming back from somewhere. At that point, I'm thinking to myself, we've got to go on and win it now. And I think that's where my disappointment comes from, is once you've got the red card, once we've got the equaliser, you've got 30 plus minutes to go and win the game. And this maybe comes down to the fact that we had so many 6 out of 10 performances, because I just don't think we created enough chaos and jeopardy in Chelsea's box to really trouble Sanchez. There was that chance that he spilled for Gyökeres' yellow card. There was the chance right at the end, which Timber took off Djokovic's head. But then all I can remember of that second half is a couple of uncharacteristically skied Bukayo Saka sort of shots. And that's where the disappointment, I think, comes from me. So I guess my question to you is more around, did you have the same feeling of what might have been and how we just weren't on it post that Marino goal? Because really, we should have kicked on, right?
Yeah, so I think that we're so ingrained, well, I am, with the 1-1 away from home, not playing so well, and they're going to get a goal in the 93rd minute, not Arsenal, the opposing team. So I was a little bit concerned because we were so off pace yesterday and so under par that I was like, right, I'm taking 1-1. I am taking 1-1, no players sent off. I was honestly like that, Chris. So at the end, I wasn't disappointed. If we were on form and having chance after chance and hitting the woodwork and causing him, the goalkeeper to make fantastic saves, I'd have been bloody gutted that we couldn't got one in. We didn't deserve anything. That's it. A draw was fair enough as far as I'm concerned. So I think, as I said, come March, I would be very disappointed if we couldn't have kicked on, because it's going to be very important. But it's important, if you can't win a game, don't lose it. I say this all the time. We couldn't win it yesterday. I don't think even if we were playing till now, we would have scored. All of them were off par. If Yuri and Timber would not have taken it on his head, taken it off Gyökeres, it was in. He would have scored with his head. No one was marking him. But did Gyökeres call? We were discussing this in the office today. Did he call? Was he loud enough? Did Yuri hear it? I don't know. Maybe Gyökeres thought he was just going to leave it. We just don't know, do we? But it is good to see Gyökeres back. But I just want to say one thing and ask a question, then I'll stop. Martinelli is a super sub and nothing else. I'm sorry.
Wow.
He's a super sub and nothing else. No, super sub. He will do it when he comes on at 60 minutes. He is not a 90-minute player. There we go. There's our first argument, Chris and James.
Right. So I want you to give an opinion on that, James, but I'm going to jump in there just very, very quickly and say we were saying the same thing about Trossard last season. I think form comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. So my view is that at the moment, certainly he's not looking like a player that deserves to start, but that doesn't mean that you can completely write him off as a perma super sub. But James, what do you think?
I think that's hyperbolic, if I'm being totally honest. I think that Martinelli has shown exactly what he can offer this Arsenal side this season.
For 90 minutes? For 90 minutes?
Whether that's from the bench, yep. Whether that's from the bench, whether that's from the start of games, I'm not too sure where.
60 minutes.
But I'm not sure where that's coming from, because I don't think he did anything necessarily wrong yesterday. And when you look at the guy that came on for him, Madueke, he was terrible. Like, let's have it right. Like, he was awful when he came on. He didn't offer anything. He ran around. He tried.
None of them did, really.
None of them did. But then why are we looking at Martinelli in particular?
Because I feel this. It's not just yesterday. I feel this. I think he can come on and turn games like he does.
But we
I
were
just
saying,
don't want to see him start.
And I remember you in particular were saying the exact same about Trossard.
And I probably still feel like that with Trossard as well. I probably do feel both of them are absolute super subs. I don't want them to leave. Absolutely not. I prefer it when they don't start and they come on. But that's just how I feel.
Okay, can I ask a question then? If Trossard is a super sub and Martinelli's a super sub, and we're still not 100% convinced on Madueke, unless you're saying that Madueke
I like
is the
Madueke.
starting.
No, I like Madueke.
So you think he's the starting left winger?
I think that, yeah, all I'm saying is you could start Trossard and bring Martinelli on and Madueke. They don't have to all start for the whole game. Like, for instance, you wouldn't take Rice off, would you, unless he's injured? You wouldn't take Saliba. You wouldn't take Gabriel off unless they're injured. Saka, maybe, if he's tiring. But he didn't even take Marino off. So I'm just saying that for me, they're both amazing players, just not for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
It is an interesting one. I think it's a kind of a semi-moot point because all of them are going to get starts and are going to come off, and that, like, we're going to rotate all of them during the season. It's interesting that a lot of people have talked about Eze as that potential left winger, or at least somebody that occupies in that sort of space and then can come in field. I think it depends on the type of game, really. If we're going to play a low block, Chelsea are not a low block FC game, and so therefore I can understand why you'd want a Martinelli, or a Madueke playing, because they're going to run in behind. So Martinelli would certainly run in behind, and I suspect Arteta thought that Chelsea would press higher. I mean, the red card maybe impacts the amount of space he might have got on the counter and transition. Madueke is I want to beat my man, go down the line type thing, and I think there was a place for it. Whether it was just the atmosphere, the occasion, the fact he was returning to his own club, I don't know. But there will be games, for example, at home where we're playing maybe even like a Brentford, and someone like Martinelli is just going to have his man sat in front of him saying, go on then, beat me. And that's not really Martinelli's game. It might be, if Trossard's not fit, more of a Madueke game on Wednesday night. We've got 8 minutes left before we need to shoot off. Do we want to? Is there any other sort of final points that you guys want to pull out in terms of that game yesterday that you want to talk about? And then maybe we talk about Brentford and then Villa, because I think the next time we speak, both of those games will have unfolded before our very eyes.
No, I'm good. Bad day at the office. Got a point at Stamford Bridge. I'm not upset. So we can do our predictions as well for the both games.
Yeah. Any final from you, James? Any final kind of thoughts on that Chelsea game?
No, I'm just relieved it's over, to be honest with you, Chris. I hate going and playing at Stamford Bridge. It's never a particularly nice game. Yeah, we've had some good results there in seasons gone by, but they're a good side. One thing we haven't done in this podcast is actually really acknowledge that Chelsea are a good team. Like, Reece James was excellent. They've got really good players. They've spent enough money to assemble a good team. They're missing some players, but they were near enough full strength yesterday. And when you contextualise that we're missing our two first choice centre halves, we haven't got a recognised striker playing up top, and then our big players like Gyökeres, Madueke, Ødegaard, even Gabriel Jesus, they're coming back into the team. It's great, but they've barely played any football. So what is their level going to be at? So you've got to put all of that into context. 1-1, final result. Take the point, move on. But I expect us to go on a run now. That's the only thing I'm going to caveat it with.
Okay, well, that's a nice segue, and you can stick on then whilst Amanda gets her book out for the predictions then. So do you want to predict Villa and then also Brentford?
So go Brentford. I've gone 2-1 for Brentford and 1-1 for Villa.
2-1 to Brentford?
2-1 to Arsenal. Sorry, at Brentford, against Brentford, yeah. No, 2-1 Arsenal, 1-1.
I'm going to go 2-0 in both games. I think we'll win both. And it's great that we've got our options coming back. Hopefully if Havertz can be back, if we can see some minutes for Jesus. But I do think we need to rotate quite carefully in these games. I don't think we can keep flogging the same 11 that has basically started the past couple of games. Use the squad a bit more. Want to see a bit of Norgard, Madueke from the start in one of these games. And hopefully we can get Trossard and Saliba back ASAP.
Yeah, I'm going to go I think I'm with you, 2-0 against Brentford. I think we'll do that. I'm going to go very sort of cagey, disgusting, uncomfortable 1-0 away victory against Aston Villa. I've just got that weird feeling that it might be like that because Villa, they're a really odd team. Like against Wolves at the weekend, they scored a wonder goal, but Wolves are a terrible team and they didn't really. They're having trouble. They're having trouble creating chances. I think Ollie Watkins is suffering a bit. I mean, I've got him in my fantasy team, so I'll keep him in there if he doesn't, as long as he doesn't score this weekend, if that helps to reverse jinx it. But fascinating. That'll be a really, really tough game, though. Villa.
Funny enough, I don't know why it popped up on my Twitter timeline yesterday, but I saw a tweet from a Wolves fan saying like if we were any decent Premier League side, we'd have scored 3 past this lot by now. So take that with a pinch of salt. But I do think we can get at that Villa defence. I definitely think we can beat them.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, any other sort of final bits that we want to talk about? Is there any questions that we want to cover in the chat? Or
no,
Amanda?
I think not really. I think I'm just so ingrained with the fact that we are going to draw games, we are going to lose games, but we're going to win more than we lose or draw. I do feel very confident. It's great, as you said, 2 centre halves come on. You lose Saliba and Gabriel. I mean, and to have Mascara and Hikapi, he's done bloody well in the summer transfer window, hasn't he? To give us these options, and the fact that Erdegaard looks like he's coming back now to full fitness, and Gyökeres is and Jesus is another option for us. We just need Gabriel and Saliba back. Make no bones about it. We really do. And I feel like now when we get a corner, it's not as exciting, I'm afraid. I do feel like, when Gabriel's there, we got a chance of scoring. But no, I'm all right. I'm looking forward to Brentford. It's 7:30 on Wednesday. I thought it was 8 o'clock. So just to let everyone know, it's 7:30 kickoff Wednesday. And we 12:30 on Saturday, aren't we? I never like those games.
Well, it's interesting because Fulham play Man City tomorrow at Fulham. And that's so they're 24 hours before us. And so I suspect that Man City will win that game, which means that it will be a 2-point difference. And then Man City have got Sunderland at home. I've got a feeling the wheels are going to start coming off with Sunderland. If you start looking at some of their numbers and they're sort of scraping by, they're vibesing it at the moment. Chelsea have got, who have Chelsea got? Chelsea have got Leeds away on Wednesday. Sort of tough game, but they might get through that. Then they've got Bournemouth away, so that's quite tricky for them. And then Liverpool have got Sunderland at home on Wednesday, and then they've got Leeds away. So again, by no means done and dusted, but what it shows you is that very quickly things can turn around. A few weeks ago, we were sort of 7 points clear and everything's looking rosy. It only takes a slip up in one of those two games, and then we've got a problem on our hands. But hey,
it is November's been phenomenal. We haven't lost a game. That in both competitions, what more can you ask?
We haven't lost since
Bayern Munich. We haven't lost since August. I mean, and people are throwing their toys. I think social media is hilarious. God knows how everyone would have been in the 80s, but anyway, but it's just a phenomenal run for November, because November generally isn't good for us. So let's hope
it's the cursed month because it was the month of my birthday, but now it's the joyous month because it's the month of my birthday. And hey, we're still top of the league. We're still 5 points clear. We're at home to Brentford. We need to do the business. James, thank you very much.
No, thank you, Chris. Excellent hosting as always.
Amanda, good jobs.
Yes, thank you. Nice to come on and speak about it. It was lovely to beat Bayern. We haven't even spoken about that, but that was an amazing night. That, top of both leagues, people. Top of both leagues will be I reckon Wednesday night will be rocking, to be honest. I know I'm not saying only Brentford. It's not a Bayern or a Spurs or anything, but I think it'll be rocking. And let's just go and beat them.
Let's go and beat them. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show as much as we have enjoyed recording it tonight. If you would like to subscribe, then please feel free to tap the notifications button, and you can give us a review, do all of that sort of stuff. But from myself, from James, from Amanda, thank you very much. We're going to catch you next time on the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Always Arsenal. Goodbye.